A little behind. Time is 7:11. I will call the meeting to order. We have roll call again.
Mr. Schrader.
Here.
Mr. Schottenham.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Gallup.
Here.
Mr. Kane.
Here.
Mr. Wirt.
Here.
Mr. Swift.
Here.
You have quorum.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A reading from the 33rd Psalm. A king is not saved by his great army. A warrior is not delivered by his great strength. The war horse is a vain hope for victory, and by its great might it cannot save. Truly the eye of the Lord is on those who fear him, on those who hope in his steadfast love. We pray. Almighty and eternal God, help us to focus on your true wisdom, righteousness, love, and fairness. Help it to guide all those who are making decisions for our city this evening. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dave, seconded by John. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Is there any public comment? No public comment. Moving right into our first action item, which is the procedure for filling the District 2 Council vacancy. The seat was left open when Ben Morrison resigned due to moving out of the district. You have in your packet here a proposed procedure for filling that seat, timelines on advertising and inviting to meetings to interview. Any questions, comments, or motions?
Do we need to officially accept the resignation?
Yes, let's do that.
I so move to accept the resignation of Alderman Morrison.
Second.
Moved by Al, seconded by Howard. Any discussion on that? Hearing none.
I'd just like to thank him publicly for his service.
Thank you. I think we all agree in that. Thank you. So all those in favor of accepting Ben Morrison's resignation for his seat, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. That was step one of the proposed procedure. Any discussion on the rest of the proposal?
Can we detail out for especially the public that could be listening how we will advertise this out, and then who perhaps can they talk to if someone wants more information about what is all entailed about being on city council?
So there's a posting that will go out into the paper and run for a couple weeks, as well as we will post on the city website, social media. Just try to get the word out there first and foremost. They can contact City Hall and talk to me about the position. We ask that they do that before applying, so we can double check to make sure that they are indeed in the proper district. We do not want people to waste their time if they're a block out or, halfway across town. So there's kind of a timeline here that's based exactly on the last time we had to do something like this. But certainly reach out to me and we will post it locally, because it doesn't. We're trying to attract District 2 people, so get it out there in the paper and then, online. And if any council members have certainly suggestions or people they know that live in that area, certainly, encourage them to reach out to me and we can talk about it if they have questions.
As a follow-up, I think to your point about how people need to make sure they live in that district, I think there's still quite a bit of confusion on where exactly the district boundaries are. Is that something that can be printed in the paper, our map? Do we need to, I don't know if
We already have it, so we'll put that in
Super.
our posting and get that out, online and with anything as well, so.
Move to approve the policy, or the procedure as presented.
Second.
Moved by Al, seconded by Jolene. Any further discussion?
Just a point that it's for 8 months term. So if you are interested, you're not signing up for 2 years, 3 years. It's for 8 months.
With the opportunity.
With
to
the
run for
opportunity,
more
correct.
after that.
Just so people are aware, because sometimes that can affect the same.
Good point.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the proposed procedure for filling Ben Morrison's seat, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next item is the acceptance of Murray Park softball field number 6 improvement. Donation has been made for $20,284.89 to rehab field number 6 at Murray Park. That field currently has significant drainage issues and definitely could use some attention. Any discussions, questions?
When was the work be done?
Want me to
Yep.
take that?
Yep.
Give you a little background, I was approached, this has been a problem the last 8-10 years because of the spring with everything melting and running down that hill. It's very soft and unplayable. And of course, with the high school, getting on those fields in the spring early, they had talked to me about it and we got some quotes for that. So they were very enthusiastic about going forward with this project. We'd like to start it right after the youth program ends, which would be like the 4th week of July, 1st week or so of August. And you can see in your sheet what they plan to do for that cost, which is pretty robust considering not a lot except for warning tracks and fence guard has been done on those 2 fields, except for the irrigation system, since it was built. And it is our only lighted field in the community, so I think it's a good offer by the school system.
The other question I have is maybe to we don't have to open this up for public bidding or anything like that?
No, there's an exception in statute that they recently passed for volunteer kind of work, which I assume this is constituted as. They're going to help do it, correct?
Yes,
They're just giving us the money, and
yeah,
we're doing it internally. But there is for
we
volunteer.
are not doing it internally.
They're doing it. Who's doing it?
They have a company that is,
Under 25,000 is the other exception, so I think we're good either which way, if we're not using volunteer labor. But there is an exception to the statute now, when you accept volunteerism. So,
there will be some volunteer
okay,
involved with
that's
this.
what I
So.
thought.
But
We're
the
under
project-
we're under the bidding requirement. If we're going to bid out, we have to notice in the paper the published notice under the $25,000 limit. So Adam and I will make sure that's good.
So make sure I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Yeah.
Is there any chance of a cost overrun? I mean, this is pretty much
This is locked in.
locked in?
Yep.
I'll
If
make
it
a
goes
motion
above,
we
yeah.
approve.
I'll second.
Moved by David, second by Paige. Any further discussion?
It seems to warrant a thank you to the school district. I don't know, this seems generous. So it's nice to see that they're investing in the community in this way.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving or accepting the donation for the work at Murray Park Field number 6, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Moving on now to our COVID-19 employee policy. New policy has been drafted from scratch, so doesn't build off the last one. It's more up to date with what's going on currently. Last one was drawn up in October, and a lot has changed since then. Any discussion on this thing?
I would caution the city of having different rules for vaccinated and unvaccinated employees. In looking at some case law and some legal advice, there can be issues that come up with perceived disclosure of employee vaccination status. Meaning if I'm not vaccinated and I have to wear a mask and the person, Jolene next to me, is vaccinated and she doesn't have to wear a mask, it could be perceived that I have not gotten the vaccination. I can choose to disclose that to my colleague Jolene at any time. However, I don't believe we should adopt, there are ramifications of disclosure of vaccine status without employee consent or as a result of company policy or practice. Such practices could potentially give rise to exposure in areas of breach of confidentiality, privacy, discrimination, retaliation, and more. My suggestion would be to modify the policy to outline whether you're vaccinated or not. These are the situations where we are asking employees to wear a mask, whether it be where social distancing cannot be achieved, whether it's in the public, whatever it may be, and not discriminate between whether you've had a vaccine or not, because who knows, mainly on the honor system. Just my suggestion.
So is your suggestion then to, on the third page of the policy, the bullet points for wearing masks?
Yep.
Have those apply to all employees?
Yep.
So we would be eliminating from, under the heading mask recommendations, to those bullet points, eliminating basically 2 paragraphs before that. That's your recommendation.
My thoughts.
Okay. Jim?
Would that then be a requirement or a recommendation of us for the mask? I would think it'd be a recommendation then.
Well, it says need, not required. Is there a difference?
So this obviously is a sensitive discussion. I think that Alderperson Trader has made a valid point that it is a developing area of the law, and there can be arguments made that whatever policy you adopt, someone may argue that you are setting them up to disclose or not disclose their vaccinated status. I think it's early in the process. I don't know that the city needs to be the test case. Adam, I think, is scouring other lead officials in the municipality world to determine what they're doing. There is some risk in adopting the policy as drafted. I also think there's some reality to undercurrent situation dealing with the fact that if you are fully vaccinated, there is science out there that suggests you are safer than if you are not, and that there is science out there that suggests you're not spreading the disease to others if you have been vaccinated. So it's a science-driven concept, and I'm not going to claim to be an expert on any of that, nor is Adam, or is anybody in this room. And so I think what Al is suggesting is just be cautious And I don't have a problem with being cautious. However, I do think it's the kind of thing that should be reviewed regularly to determine when a fully vaccinated individual can be allowed to remove the mask in certain circumstances. I think the suggestion in the language here was even if you're fully vaccinated, employees are recommended to wear a mask while engaging with the public and when social distance cannot be achieved. So that's essentially the concept that I think Alderman Trader is pointing out, is that if we adopt a policy that says when you can engage in activity and maintain social distance, then you can remove your mask. Obviously, if you have not been vaccinated, you are risking a coworker or the public removing the mask in those circumstances, and that's the challenge I think we're faced with. The safest approach is to say, push it off a little bit longer, stay with the idea that you wear a mask as the CDC had recommended in the first instance. But I think there comes a time where fully vaccinated individuals should be able to remove the mask. And I'm not certain if the city wants to be there this evening, and that's why it's here before the Common Council, and I'm not suggesting that Al's recommendation maybe isn't the safer of the options at this time. And perhaps see what other entities have gone to. Obviously, we've all gone shopping or within the Kohl's. This isn't door to go in. If you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear your mask. So is Kohl's risking the public by me walking in without my mask? I don't know. You know, it's a public establishment, but the workplace is a different arena.
So in just drafting this as an example, if we change, that's understandable. In drafting this, we tried to be sensitive to, first and foremost, not asking or requiring anybody to be asked. This is a policy that is on basically like everything else, an honor system. We're not going to be asking employees, these are requirements or recommendations. There are no penalties listed in here for compliance or non-compliance, okay? The other side of this is the public aspect of this. We are public servants. We interact with the public on a daily basis. So, you know, we're trying to balance all of that to make people who come in to the facility feel safe, that interact with our employees feel safe. And that's kind of why there are recommendations, and still, you know, within those recommendations, masking if you are vaccinated. Requirement-wise, certainly if someone is not vaccinated, there's a whole list of situations there where we would require they wear masks. But we currently, you know, there's nothing in there to trigger anybody asking or anything like that. This just steps us into a, I think, better situation than we are now, where there is a complete disconnect from reality with our policy, and brings us to a better time today. And I think, you know, appeases employees to the point where they can make personal choices, but also understand that the expectation is when we're dealing with the public, we have an obligation to make them feel safe. So that's
Maybe to Al, or to remove the mask recommendation and the mask requirement section, and a simple statement of is recommended that employees wear a mask, ... to the last 3 dots. Simply, it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not, we still recommend when you're around others, when you're around this. If you're vaccinated or not, we're still making that recommendation. Instead of making the exclusions of if you are or not. Is it that simple?
That essentially, I think, is what you're advocating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it would read, it is recommended that employees wearing masks while engaging with the public and when social distancing cannot be achieved. Is that what you're thinking?
No, what you said was,
And then to the 3 dots on the last one.
goes from mask recommendations, recommended to wear masks, and then it goes into those 3 bullets.
So it's just going to be called mask recommendations. It goes directly to the bulletin.
The statement could still be on there. It is recommended that employees wear a mask
Okay, yeah.
while working with the public or working in common areas, while working or walking common areas, and working with others that are out there. Seems like that's the way the trends I've been seeing is it's the word recommended versus required anymore. The other option is we don't have any policy.
That is correct,
I mean,
but
just saying, that's an option, just,
the ultimate goal is to encourage our employees to get vaccinated. And right now, if we do no policy or we, don't say there's some requirement, there is no point in, any of it.
So doesn't that essentially, in some way, kind of force your hand of not requiring it, but here's what you don't get to do if you don't. Like, I just feel like it toes that line if that's the end goal of, getting, because now the way I read it, like that first bullet point, if we just say like a blanket statement, we recommend that you, regardless of vaccination status, while working with the public or when working or walking in common areas of the building, includes entire office areas of the various buildings. So does that include you being in your office working? Do you have to be masked? Because or does that fall under being not accessible to the public?
Not accessible to the public.
Even though it's in the entire office area?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
blocked off, people need
Okay.
access. Somebody would come in and then we would put a mask on, But if it's a recommendation, it still leaves, in that case, if somebody does come in and it becomes accessible to the public, if it's a recommendation, and I'm vaccinated or not vaccinated, it's my choice at that point.
that's a discussion with the public at that point. How would you like me to proceed with our meeting?
And that's how it's sort of working. That's.
Or if you get someone that has had COVID, has antibodies, chooses not to get the shot, they're in that same boat for a period of time. Right.
Exactly.
Again, science.
The 6-foot distance, we're talking science, CDC has also said 3 feet.
For schools,
Is that?
for schools,
Yeah.
children, not for everybody.
Okay. Because in there, if you just put social distance instead of a specific distance, you're gonna keep space.
So if part of this, it sounds like, was to encourage our city staff to be vaccinated, what are other ways perhaps? Do we have other sort of incentives? I assume, all of our department heads, I think are working hard on this, but if someone needs to take time off of work to get a vaccination, are we making sure that this is happening? Are we stating that we hope that you do get vaccinated? How can we make it easier for you? If ultimately we're thinking about removing something that seemed like it was, kind of a carrot to make sure that our city staff are vaccinated, is there something else we should be doing?
So we would allow time off for anybody to go get a vaccine. There's an ample opportunity for every city staff member to be in a category that could have gotten a shot months ago. Incentivizing it beyond the fact that if they don't get it, they could get sick, they could die, they could disrupt the entire operations of the city, they could get other coworkers sick and take down entire departments. I don't know what else you need to say at this point. So that's just my message to talking to department heads is, we need to encourage that, because at the end of the day, the operations of the city are at risk as long as people are unvaccinated on our staff.
And if you incentivize now, the ones that got it before could come back and say, I didn't get it before, and now you're giving this, you're, I don't think benefiting, I'm trying to think of the word, you're incentivizing this person now, and look, now that they held out, oh wait, they get something and I don't, am I gonna get something? So, as far as, it was monetary, no, I'm not a fan of monetary, plus you deal with W-2 issues and stuff like that. Taxable wages, you can't just incentivize them to go get a shot.
But now I think this incentivizes,
You can't ask anyone.
right, like the goal is to get everyone
You can't ask
vaccinated.
anyone. All they have to do is say, I got shot.
Yeah.
It's useless.
But now, for those that have been vaccinated, this, this proposed kind of blanket statement, I don't want to say punishes those that have been vaccinated, but where's the, everyone still has to wear masks because we're trying to convince these people who are, choosing not to for one reason or another. Where's, I feel like it doesn't, like, I understand that the health benefits of being vaccinated, but why even bring this up if there's not going to be any change in, the difference between being vaccinated and non-vaccinated in this policy?
That's to Al's point, though, I say you're not differentiating, I think, not to speak for you, I apologize.
Right,
That's the point,
I
is
don't-
that you're not singling one out and giving different rules for the different people.
right, so then what would be the point of changing a policy? Because right now
Because
it's,
we're still changing the front page and we're still recommending.
but okay, so this portion of it.
Oh, really? Because it's still a recommendation in the public and things like that. We're not saying you don't have to wear a mask at all. We're still recommending in those areas. If you don't want the word recommend, then you could use the word required when working with the public. We could do that too. As an employer, we could require. Correct?
Yes, that's currently the
Right.
general policy is we are supposed to be.
And Jim, just your point about we can't ask and we can't require the vaccine. Currently, it's great, but once FDA, I believe, gives it full approval as opposed to emergency approval, there is absolutely, we can, if we choose as a body, require as a point of employment, our employees to have the vaccine. That would be a decision for you, but it's just, at this point, it's questionable because it is an emergency order.
But they're not dealing with that right now.
All right, so somebody wants to put forward the amended language, we'll keep moving, I think. I think we recognize that this is going to be a moving process. And certainly this evening, we can make an amendment statement, which I think obviously there's been some issue raised with the way it's currently drafted. But if somebody wants to suggest that language, go forward.
Well, I will say before we do that, is that, again, a little bit to Paige's point, is that if we're going to amend it, what is the point of changing it from what we have? But it sounds like maybe it's,
This is radically different from what we have in the book, right?
okay.
Everything else going before you get to masking.
Well, as far as the masking
Yes,
specifically
exactly.
goes.
Dealing specifically with masking.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that what is laid before us does seem to encourage vaccination, and I understand what my colleague is saying about the concerns, but if, as a public official, this is in general a statement, as we said, it's not necessarily enforceable, it's a recommendation. If we're simply making a recommendation that encourages vaccinations, I will just state that I like that how it's stated, because it's simply a recommendation, and we are stating that we support people in our city to get vaccinated, and Adam just stated how important that is.
Well, one thing, I agree with Jolene on this. I mean, you got to have some incentive for being fully vaccinated. And, I liken this to people when they smoked and said, I have a right to smoke. And then we found out secondhand cigarette smoke kills how many people in a year? Well, that's pretty much what this is. You have a right to not get vaccinated, but you don't have a right to give someone COVID. Because you may not even know you have it. And you're giving, and that's how most people are getting it. So I don't understand why we're even playing around with it. I mean, you need to get vaccinated.
And that could be a recommendation. I do appreciate Al's perspective when he works in
Yes.
industry where he has requirements and how he moves forward. So I'm listening. I don't want to be the first to jump out there and say, if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, don't worry about it.
Right.
I don't know that I'm ready to do that. I could live with the way this is written, but if we have any hesitancy, why don't we move forward, have Adam take a closer look at what the communities are doing, and then revisit it, is kind of what I'm looking to see.
Well, there's not really a punishment for not wearing a face mask on this. I mean, it's saying need, but it's not, what are the consequences if you don't wear a face mask?
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's wrestled that yet, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
so,
I don't think people have been fired for not wearing
right.
face masks. So that's
I can
more of a guidance, and it's a guidance.
I can understand not being heavy-handed with it, and I like Al's point as far as, you're getting involved with people's health care.
Yep. And
doing
that's what we
it.
gotta be careful not to try.
Yeah, and you gotta be careful, and you should be careful with that.
Exactly.
But we also need to be careful that we don't spread COVID.
Yeah, I agree.
So anything we can do to help along these lines, and just by changing the last sentence to should wear a mask instead of need to wear a mask, I mean, if you choose not to wear a mask and not get vaccinated, I don't know, I don't understand why you would do that, but this kind of helps people want to get vaccinated. It's an incentive to get vaccinated. How,
So if we started
little
with,
it is.
if we started with mask recommendation, all staff are strongly encouraged to become vaccinated. Below are the situations employees not vaccinated. No, just employees in general will need to wear a mask. You can encourage people to get vaccinated.
Right.
So if we start there, all staff are strongly encouraged to become vaccinated, and then say, below are the situations in which employees will need to continue to wear a mask. And then do your bullet points, which is pink, because where you were headed, Jim. And get off the line when not fully vaccinated.
So is it possible for under mask recommendations, fully vaccinated, no mask required, if you've met the 2 week, whatever, unless, but you must wear a mask while engaging with the public and when social distancing cannot be achieved. So that kind of covers, that public aspect or not social distancing.
But what Al's saying, you want to get away from distinguishing between vaccinated and not.
To make them all recommendations, what is it even?
I know, that's what I'm saying,
Recommendations
right.
And just.
But you take out the distinction, you just make it a recommendation. You encourage people to get vaccinated until we're 100% certain going forward that we can stand between the two, which is Al's point. It's in the industry, that's all.
When nowhere in here are we required.
No,
people to
that's
show
what we gotta
proof.
do is, we gotta get rid of the word required, because that's in here now. So we're gonna eliminate that, which was Al's point. Don't distinguish between those that are vaccinated and those that are not vaccinated. Encourage everybody to vaccinate and identify the situations where, as a public employee, you should wear it. It's kind of, I think, we're at least some of the consensus.
Okay.
And I appreciate there's other divergent ideas this evening. And then I think we bring it back at the next meeting and see if there's someone out there that's pushing the envelope a little further. I don't know if you have it for us tonight. Other communities that have adopted policies, vaccinated or not vaccinated.
This is a policy from another community, the basis for it, that has been in place for a month.
Okay, fair enough, there's one.
There's many.
Okay, well, I guess I'd like to see that. That'd be helpful.
Hey, it was just a suggestion. If you want to vote the policy the way it is, that's fine. Make a motion. It was just a suggestion. I'm overly cautious when it comes to legal and risk, and HIPAA and discriminatory
Right,
practice.
and I'm listening. That's all I-
But if someone wants to make a motion to approve it as it is, go ahead.
Well, I don't see where it's making it where you have to say whether you've been vaccinated or not. This does not say that. And
You are by your
there's no punishment for wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, vaccinated, not getting vaccinated. Basically, you're allowing the people that are fully vaccinated to remove the mask and hoping everybody else does the right thing. without any punishment. So we're not singling someone out, and you're not able to point and say, well, they're not wearing a mask and they haven't been vaccinated, and you call them out on it. You don't know. That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to get people to get vaccinated, and this is just a way to do it. It's not asking for the card saying haven't been vaccinated. That's how I look at it. And this does follow CDC guidelines, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, let's try it. I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
Been moved by David, second by Paige. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the COVID employee policy as written?
Take a roll call.
We'll take a roll call.
Mr. Schrader,
No.
Mrs. Schatzman,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
No.
Mr. Gallows,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Wirch,
No.
Mr. Swett.
No.
4-3 against. Are there any other motions?
I would take a shot at the amendment, which would be just make mask recommendations, or eliminate that as well. Just start with all staff are strongly encouraged to become vaccinated. Will lower the situations in which employees will need to continue to wear a mask. And then go on to the bullet points.
Is there a motion to approve his amended language?
I'll motion for that.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Moved by John, second by Paige. Any discussion on that amended version?
Can you repeat the amendment?
We're going to eliminate the mask recommendation paragraph. We're going to eliminate the mask requirement paragraph. We're going to start with the statement, all staff are strongly encouraged to become vaccinated. Below are the situations in which employees will need to continue wearing a mask. Eliminate the language, we're not fully vaccinated. That comes out as well, and then you read the bullet points. So a lot of crossing out.
Yes.
Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, we have roll call vote again.
Mr. Schrader,
Aye.
Mrs. Schatzman,
Aye.
Mr. Hanson,
Aye.
Mr. Gallows,
No.
Mrs. King,
Aye.
Mr. Wirch,
Yes.
Mr. Swett.
Yes.
6-1. 6-1 in favor.
And that's approving the whole policy with those amendments, correct?
Correct.
We'll make sure that those are recorded to the clerk.
And we will review regularly by the council as things change or as issues come up, so we'll bring it down. But thank you for at least getting us out of
Exactly.
having public works building closed and no bubblers.
Or water fountains.
Yes.
Bubblers, come
As
on.
well as it's broken.
Anyhow, moving on. The next item on the agenda is temporary Class B and Class B license application for Ripon Fest Inc. For the date of July 10th at Barlow Park in a specific map area that you have in front of you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Paige, seconded by David. Out.
I have a question. I was gonna ask the chief, does he have any concerns regarding that being fenced off crossing the road like that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
as it's laid out here. I want to make it perfectly clear though with the Ripon Fest managers that 2 years ago when it was approved, Ripon Fest came that evening and then there was changes that were done at the park, if I remember correctly. I just want to make sure that we're clear with them that if this is what they've submitted and this is what's being approved, that that's the way it's going to be. That the day of, there's not going to be any changes. So that's my only concern, is I want to make sure that that is clear, because we're not going to go through that again like we did 2 years ago.
What changes were made? What are we?
I think there was some concerns about, and I know Jackie's here, you can kind of address that with me if you remember, but I think there was some concerns about getting the boundary up to the stage at that time, and I think they've addressed that with this plan. And then because it wasn't approved that way when it went through 2 years ago, so then that day came and they wanted that to be addressed, and that's what happened there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was just pretty much a newbie.
Yep.
We didn't know what we were doing, mistake. So we
Yep.
definitely wanted to make sure this year that we have it exactly the way it will be on Saturday.
And they've been a really good group to work with. We've addressed several things with them concerning Ripon Fest, but I just wanted to make sure that was on the record and they understood that.
Can is it possible to put in a request for you, Chief, that after July 10th, I hope the festival goes well, but so that we have it in the record, so that we're not wondering next year, well, wait, what was the changes? That you could give a report as to if there were any complaints and how it went related to Ripon Fest and alcohol usage. Is that something that you can request for just the next, I guess it'd be the next council meeting after the event? That you let us know if there was any issues.
Yeah, you certainly could do that, or I can place that in my monthly report if there's any issue, and we can address it separately if we need to.
The only concern I had was, I know past years in the road and things like that, again, do we do anything with ADA, with people at the roadway? So people that wanted to get through there, could they? And then number two, the true control over this area, being the weird shape, and I get the little stage part, right? That's the part that you guys kind of did, so it comes all the way to the stage. Is there any issue you have with the amount of surface area that alcohol could leave that premises? So many little things. I mean, two people stand on stage here, just handed across.
Yeah, and
versus
Jackie,
the area
yeah.
here to
And
here.
certainly I think that's a question for her as to what are your entry points, is this going to be taped off, which I'm assuming it is?
Yeah,
3 foot snow fence.
Okay,
4 foot.
so if you want to come up and address those concerns, probably, Jackie, I don't. Based on what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing that. And with the elimination of the carnival on the other
That's
end,
what I was worried about.
as far as the roadway, I'm not sure, I mean, that's something that you guys can discuss and you can explain that more.
Because
so,
that worried me, if that was going to be down here, people can't get there. I know the streets were a big walking place for people, obviously it's nicer to walk on anybody with strollers or walkers.
so we're really playing it by ear because we don't have a carnival. The children's entertainment is actually to the left of the pavilion up on the top hill. So there will be there's nothing over on the right side of the fence, and there's really no reason for anybody to go over there. Next year we may be doing things a little differently because we're hoping to secure a carnival, but we don't have one quite yet. So it could change again next year with being smaller and moving more that way and out of the roadway so that way people can walk.
And wristbands, and what's the plan for carting?
One point of entry, which is going to be,
with walkers?
yeah, right about where the walkway is, around that area, yeah. It actually,
Or up in the
it might be right here, right before the road. Stop it.
I think you're going to have soda and stuff.
Yeah, pour on that side.
Beer.
Beer on that side, yeah.
So come in here.
Yep.
And from my understanding, we had absolutely, I don't believe, and I did not hear from anybody else that we had any alcohol problems. I believe we got like 2 points gone, maybe from the drug and alcohol of Fond du Lac County that was judging us or grading us. I don't know what they do, but Secret Services that were there didn't say they had any real problems with us.
say it again, I think you just did, but we all have a map here, and this white line is where you plan to put snow fence. Is that what you
Yep.
just said?
Yep.
Okay.
Any further questions or discussion? No?
If something goes horribly wrong, Bill, you also have the right to shut it down immediately, correct?
Yeah, yep, we do have that opportunity, and then if there's deviation here, obviously Jackie, being the responsible party, would be responsible for that. She's the one that the license is on.
And we also do, I don't know if it matters, but we do have the Fond du Lac County reserves coming in again for extra security purposes.
That was in at 10 o'clock, so it's not super early.
Yeah.
Completely.
It'll be late for us too. Those two days are exhausted.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving this temporary liquor license, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next is a resolution for the 2020 compliance maintenance annual report. So, turn it to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is our annual report. Kind of gives you an overall view of all the various aspects of the wastewater treatment plant. And this pretty much came to be from the Clean Water Act back in the 70s when our waters were becoming polluted and our wastewater treatment plants weren't becoming up to standards, weren't getting things repaired like they should. And when they got federal dollars and things to build new plants, the feds made sure that there were funds available to do any necessary repairs should they be necessary during the life of the facility. So this kind of gives you an overall view of how we do as a facility for the city. We did pretty well again, 3.9 out of 4. Last year we could not do some of the class testing that we needed to do, the subclasses, and that's why we had a lower score on that. But since then, we've gotten the tests and the subclasses completed. We're all in compliance. It's an advanced plant, so it requires at least 4 years of hands-on experience, plus passing all of the subclasses for the facility. So, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what it is. If you'd like, we can go through it section by section. It is a rather long report. Be happy to answer any questions you might have, if you'd rather not.
I have a question.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for including this for us. Probably it's a requirement, but nonetheless, thank you. Where it says that we have accepted sewage, and there's a comment here saying that it was determined that plant performance was not negatively affected after accepting, I was going to say sewage, septage
Right.
is the word. Yeah.
Holding tanks from areas around the community and the county. We accept that waste. We did not accept any septic tanks. Those can get a little dicey and can upset the plant. Same with grease. We have enough grease in town from our contributors from our restaurants, unfortunately. So we don't accept any extra stuff like that. We have plenty of food for the microorganisms that we have in, that we create in town, plus the little bit that we get from the septic haulers to help our, actually we do have some residents that has holding tanks, but has wells from us, or, they have their own well, but I should say they get our water and then they are not hooked up to the wastewater facility. So then we'll take their wastewater since we're giving them drinking water in return, so to speak. So that's not a problem for us as far as upsetting the plant or anything like that.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, why take it at all? But what you're saying is it's not a problem.
It's not a problem. It's a very small revenue producer, so it's really not worth taking in something that you could be suspect for a few bucks, and you're gonna, disrupt the whole biology of the whole plant. And it doesn't take a lot when you're talking about microscopic organisms, so.
Yeah, that's why I was concerned. So I'm glad that it sounds like you are very limited and very
Yes.
picky as to what we take. And I guess I
Yes,
just
very
want to
much
say
so.
that
We,
I appreciate that.
there are certain individuals that we don't let go. We'll, take to our facility because of the past practices in the past, so. Anything else from anything? Sure, sir.
You're saying you're having trouble with grease? I mean, don't the restaurants have grease traps?
Yes. Not all of them get them clean.
Is there a regulation to get them?
Yes, there is.
Why
So
are we not
there is an
enforcing
ordinance, there is an ordinance to do that.
it? Should we not
Because-
be enforcing this?
Excuse me?
Shouldn't we be enforcing this?
We do our best to enforce it with our staff that we have.
Okay. You see this as a problem going forward?
No, it's just more of a nuisance for a handful of people
Okay.
that really need to get on the ball. And after I had a couple discussions with them, actually this last spring, I think we're doing pretty good so far. When somebody has a grease trap that you only have access to from outside, and when we come by there in the wintertime, then there's no snow removed or anything, and then they come back and tell me, oh, it's done every month? No, it's not. And lo and behold, I get a call from their hauler that they're gonna get on the ball a little bit better, so. It's policing and catching people.
Yep.
A lot of people, I don't know where the records are, I don't know what you're talking about. You'd be surprised.
Yep. Well, I appreciate the job you do.
Thank you very much.
Great.
It's my staff really that does it all. It's not me. They do a fantastic job of taking care of everything. And I couldn't be happier with them. After all the years in the business that I've been, I think these guys are probably one of the best group that I've worked with. Since I've been here with Jack Wendler and Phil Hoopman. I know he was here for a long time and I replaced him, but a lot of good staff, a lot of good knowledgeable science guys. And we're set up for the future because we have a great group of young guys that are eager to put the city in a good spot.
Good deal. So the public understands what we're looking at. 9 of 10 categories, 100% legal. I think that's been the same for...
Last year it was 3.9, the same thing.
Yep. I think about 4 years now, so very good, very, I shouldn't say
We're doing really good
Good.
the last number of years. We had a few blips.
Yep, you're saying one.
We are dependent, unfortunately, with our industrial customers complying. And you're almost having to play detective. Twice a year, we do kind of surprise sampling in manholes. And that's how we kind of, use the surcharges that we charge them for anything above normal waste that you'd get from a resident in town. We charge them extra if it's above a certain limit. And we do these testing twice a year, and then we kind of adjust their billing for their sewer rates. And the only way to really get a hold of a lot of that is to be constantly sampling, which is very expensive, very time consuming. Right now, we're doing pretty good. We don't have too many bad things. I think every July 1st time, we got hit with phosphorus, so I think a lot of either the school or the college or some industries might be cleaning their boilers or something like that over the winter, and they're using a phosphoric acid maybe to eliminate the calcium carbonate buildup in their boilers. So usually about this time of year, we kind of get hit with a high phosphorus level, but we combat that with alum. So we're kind of prepared from knowing this history for a while. kind of are ready to go in case we kind of get hit with a surprise.
I don't know what it looks like, but it does seem that if that is sort of our history that you're noticing, that's good knowledge to share out, to see what we can do to combat that. You know, I just attended the Green Lake Association annual meeting, and they said that we need to be decreasing the amount of phosphorus flowing into Green Lake by 50%. And of course, Ripon is a part of
Yes.
a part of this. So
Yes, we are the only contributor to that aspect, the municipal contributor into Green Lake, and we are nowhere near what the farmers in the area are contributing.
no.
Everybody wants to point to the municipality, since we're a big target. We're the only one dumping in there, but we have some of the lowest phosphorus discharges in the state, not just the area, the entire state of Wisconsin.
With the good work.
You know, we're doing a great job, and it's all chemical-free, unless we get a phosphorus hit, it's all biological. That's why we're really sensitive as to where we, whose septage we take, so it's not destroying our system here.
Just please pass on our appreciation to your staff as well as to yourself, of course.
Thank you very much, I do that.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 compliance maintenance annual report resolution.
Thank you.
Moved by Jim. I heard Kate for the second. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, tonight we have one discussion item. This is on the ATV Utvs Ordinance. There's a proposed ordinance in your packet. It's kind of a starting point to start the discussion. Chief, if you want to weigh on this?
Before we get going, we need to get it off the table.
Point of order.
Yes.
It was tabled, so we have to untable.
Yep.
And we know
I would like to make the motion to remove this from the table for discussion tonight.
is there a second?
Well, the person that did it, seconded it, isn't with us, so.
Right.
Somebody else needs to do it.
Right.
As long as there's someone who voted in favor of tabling.
We just need one.
So is there a second to take it off the table? One last time, is there a second to take this off the table? Hearing none, this item will remain tabled, so a future date. All right, project updates and staff reports.
So all I have is that the city did complete the transaction and sell the American House. So that was press release and there's a story regarding that. That was issued today. So that whole situation has been completed and is done. Any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Other than that, that's all I have.
All right, anything from Public Works? No, Police Department? All right, I do have 3 appointments for the library board this evening. First one is, can we do these all at once? Or
Yes, we can.
Okay. First one is for Andrew Prowitz. He's currently the president of the library board. He would like to remain on for another 3-year term. I would also like to reappoint myself to the library board. I'm currently on there as the council representative. And that would be a 3-year term. And then one other appointment would be for Lauren McConnell. That would be for a new appointment, again for a 3-year term.
Move to approve the appointments for library board.
Second.
Moved by Jim, second by Jolene. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of these appointments, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, thank you. All right, and I do have a comment tonight regarding the COVID vaccinations. Again, it is very important to get your vaccinations. Fond du Lac County in the last week has only increased by 180 vaccinations. And we're still at less than 50% vaccination rate for the first dose. We're a far cry short of where we need to be to make everyone safe. So please, if you have not gotten a vaccine, schedule one. It's very easy to get in. Pharmacies in town have openings next day or same day. The side effects make you a little tired, but it protects you, protects your family, your loved ones, and your coworkers. Please get vaccinated. Are there any comments or future agenda items from council members?
Just a reminder for Alderman Morrison's committees, fire district and such.
Yes, sir. I believe it was just fire district, still working on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Julie.
It's being that the 4th of July holiday is coming up, wishing everyone a safe holiday, and remember, if you have any questions about what is appropriate for fireworks, to contact, I assume, the fire department, that they can give some guidance on that and to be safe. I assume, is that our official guidance, that the fire department is the go-to?
Fireworks?
There was an article in the paper last week about the do's and don'ts regarding those things.
If they go in the air, don't land.
They're illegal in the city.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Moved by Paige, seconded by Dave. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:12.